So lastly, we're gonna have the fifth analysis. For the fifth analysis, we are going to identify the factors that can contribute to lower satisfaction ratings. So we already knew that calls handled and average queue time have a strong correlation. And if you could remember, I actually told you or talked about the relationship or the potential correlation between calls handled, queue time, and the customer satisfaction rating. That was under, or that is under the step one, data exploration and outlier detection. When I was talking about it is when I was talking about the automation process of summary statistics and box plots using macros and VBA. So having said that, let's get on with our data analysis for the analysis number 5. So let's make a worksheet first and let's name it as our analysis number 5. So click here, new worksheet, rename it as analysis number 5, and then let's remove the grid lines. All right, for the pivot table, let's just copy a pivot table here and paste it on the new worksheet, and then paste as keep source formatting. Okay, now looking good. So here we have the calls handled and our average queue time. So since we're talking about our customer satisfaction rating, um, we can actually we we can try to add this value as the third variable for our pivot table here, but it won't actually guarantee us that it would show a strong correlation between the three. I'll show you why I said this. So let's try to put this customer satisfaction rating to our values field. And then let's use the average instead of the sum. And then let's change the decimal place as 1 and click OK. All right. I chose a wrong number format. Let me just correct this one. Okay. There we go. And then let's generate a pivot chart. So let's go to pivot chart here. And then let's choose a combo chart. So here we have our three variables, the calls handled, average queue time, and customer satisfaction ratings. So let's try to put the customer satisfaction ratings as our secondary axis, as well as our queue time. Let's make it as a line. And then secondary axis, there we go. And click OK. Let's remove the field buttons and let's remove the legend and as well as the grid lines. Now, take a look at this chart here. As you can see, it does not actually show us that these three variables have a strong correlation because um, the customer satisfaction rating here is so low that it does not show us uh, what they call this, like a visible trend, or a noticeable trend. So I guess this way is not actually the right way on how to deal with this analysis number 5. So I have a better idea instead of doing this, which is to make two tables or two pivot tables and then two charts. So our second chart, we will use that uh, as like what do you call this? We will use that by putting it on top of our first chart. So I will show you how it is done. So let's remove this chart first. Let's delete it. And then let's remove the customer ratings or satisfaction ratings here. All right. So actually, we can just copy the chart on our analysis for since they are actually the same, right? So let's just go to our analysis for and let's copy the chart here. There we go. And then let's just delete this comment here. Anyways, we can put a comment later here after we generate the second pivot chart. So for the second pivot chart, let's just copy the first pivot and pivot table, or for our second pivot table, I mean, let's just copy the first pivot table and then paste it down. Then let's click the keep source formatting. And after that, let's change the value fields. Um, let's remove the average queue time and let's replace it with the customer satisfaction ratings. And then summarize it as our average. And then the number format should be in one decimal place. And then click OK. And now let's generate our chart. So let's go to pivot chart, click combo chart. Let's put the customer ratings as our secondary axis, then hit OK. Let's customize it. Let's remove the legend, hide the all fields button chart or all fields button on chart. Then let's place it here a little bit down here. Okay, and let's resize it. Okay, then let's remove the grid lines. Okay, so let's see if they have these good or this noticeable correlation now. Well, if you look at these two charts, you can see that they do, right? It says here that as the call volume goes up, so as the or the customer waiting time also becomes longer. For our second chart, as the call volume goes up, the customer satisfaction ratings goes down. So in that case, they actually have these very strong correlation. But the problem now here is how are we going to put this second chart to the first chart? Well, that's actually easy with the help of some formatting. So let's just format this chart here, our second chart. Let's double click and then let's choose no fill, no line. For the bars, no fill, no line. For the line here, no fill, no line as well. Now we are left with the values. So for the values, we can just hide them. You can go to axis option and then, oh no, not the axis option, the labels option, yes. And then click none for the label position, as well as here, and for the weekdays. Okay, we can still see a visible border, so might as well remove that. No line and no fill. Okay, now we can put the second chart on top of our first chart. But before we do that, let's put a comment here or a chart title first, because if we put the second chart on top of the first chart without putting any titles or descriptions, it will be hard for us to write them down. So better to do it before we put the second chart on top of the first chart. So let's just put the chart title here, or insert a chart title, and then let's um we can actually put a description or a chart title, whatever you want. So in my case, I guess I'll just put a chart title. I can change it later if I want to, but for now, I'll just put a chart title. So this would be calls handled, call volume versus queue time versus customer satisfaction or customer rating. Okay, there we go. So as I said, I can change this title later if I want to. So let's put now the second chart on top of the first chart, and let's see what would it look like. So um, here you can see that it is actually, or the line for our customer satisfaction is a bit longer compared to our queue time, right? And that's because we removed some values here as one of our steps in the formatting. So we might as well put some allowance for that. So let's put an allowance on our right side, and as well as for our left side. There you go. Well, that's a little bit shorter. Okay. All right. So I guess that is perfect now. And then let's see. Okay. Now one more thing, we can change this line into red. Okay. Since it is actually going down. So I'm actually satisfied with what it is looking right now. So I guess that's it for our analysis number 5. Please tune in for our, or please continue for our recommendations on the next step.